Hello and welcome to another episode of W.A.V.E, the Wonderful Alberni Valley Experience. I'm your host, Don Texan, coming to you live from the unceded territories of the Hupachesit and the Tishat peoples right here in the wonderful valley that we call Port Alberni. Today with me is a wonderful couple, Bodhi and Carol Thompson Gardner, who are going to be sharing their upcoming trip or visit to Port Alberni. They live in Salt Springs, but they're coming here to conduct a very special and meaningful event with the United Church led by Pastor Minnie Hornidge. And I'm so glad they took the time to share their story and share their message with us today on the W.A.V.E. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Bodhi and Carol. Can we see Bear too? Or is he not around anymore?
I'll grab him.
Okay. There you go. Bodhi, Carol, and Bear from Salt Springs. Welcome to our show. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. So I understand, Bodhi and Carol, you're a couple living in Salt Springs. And we won't talk about too much of your story as a couple and your journey, because that's going to be an episode on Queer View Mirror, which is another show that I host. Anyway, we're talking about the wonderful Alberni Valley experience that ties into the visit of Bodhi and Carol. So, Bodhi, would you like to start? What are you coming to Port Alberni for?
So we're coming here on the 22nd of this month, which is this coming weekend. We're coming to do a church service with Reverend Minnie in remembrance of the Transgender Day of Remembrance, to honor that.
So November 20th is the Transgender Day of Remembrance. Yes. Could you give us a little background of how this all started? When was the first, is this an international thing? Is this a global thing?
Yes. So it was a woman by the name of Gwendolyn Ann Smith who actually started this, the Trans Day of Remembrance in 1999, when a friend of hers, Rita Hester, was brutally murdered in 1998 in her apartment. She was a transgender woman. And that's what started the whole process, and has been ongoing ever since. And it's a day where there's been gatherings all over the world where people get together and they just honor the people who have died in the last year and even prior to that. So often you'll hear at these events, people will say their name, and people will holler out people's names, the people who've been murdered. It's been an ongoing process, an ongoing thing. We don't have really any clear statistics within Canada right now, but in the States, definitely. Last year, every year there seems to be more and more transgender people that are being murdered. Last year there was 26. This year, as of the beginning of October, there already is 31. And the majority of them being transgender women and transgender Black women. So yeah, it's really important for us as members of the community to really to honor that day too. And the United Church has become an affirmed church. They have an affirmed team there. And what's really amazing about that is that there's an actual process for them to create Sundays that are dedicated to these events. So this is one of them, and we feel really proud and honored to be part of this process with Reverend.
Well, thank you for coming and joining us. I know there's so much COVID restriction going on, but fortunately in the island area, we're not that much affected, and we have much to be grateful for in terms of that. Now, Carol, I understand you are both authors, and you have written a book that you mentioned to me a while ago, sort of like to honor Bodhi's story. Can you tell us a little bit about the book? Because it has to do with the transgender's journey, right?
Yeah.
So did you see the book?
Yeah.
Sure.
So my book is called Lily Loves Beards.
Okay.
And it was published in 2019, and it is to honor Bodhi's child that Bodhi started telling me stories of their childhood when they were starting around 4 or 5 years old, when they started recognizing that they were different and that they just had this love and this longing to be out on the farm with their papa. And so this Lily Loves Beards, I've changed it. I've changed the story, but I haven't changed the context of what the story is about. And so it's about a little child that is a gender creative child, and she loves her papa, and she loves her papa's beards. And she goes through some challenges, but she's very outgoing and basically just stands in her true authenticity. And I've changed the story also a little bit so that Lily is fully accepted by her family. And this is our hope for all transgender and gender creative and gender queer, gender fluid children, is that they are accepted and loved unconditionally by their families.
Oh, that's wonderful. So when was the book published?
When?
Yeah.
In 2019.
Oh, okay. So it just recently published. And I understand there's another book, and that's sort of like Bodhi's memoirs or Bodhi's autobiography.
Yeah, and that's Transgender Heart.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about that book, or should Bodhi tell me about it?
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to write a book, and I always wanted to tell my story, but I really resisted it because I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go into the trauma too much, and I didn't feel like I wanted it to be a book of hope. And so Carol actually came up with the idea one morning, and we were having coffee, and she just said, "What if you wrote your stories, but wrote about the things that helped you?" So basically, it's stories of my life that involve people, places, inanimate objects, animals that held me during my lifetime and are a huge reason why I'm still standing here today. So it's a discussion about, there's a sharing of each chapter is a different story, and at the end of it is my gratitude for those people, places, things, and animals that held me during that time. So it's about hope, and it's about reminding me, as well as the response I'm getting to it is people are actually doing inner reflection around more after reading it, around the things that have held them versus the things that have caused them harm. And that's been my whole goal in sharing these stories.
Okay, I'm curious now. How long have you been living in Salt Springs?
Well, this time
We've moved back a few times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, move away and move back.
Okay, so it just keeps enjoying. Yeah, I think the island's sort of like a magnet. You like go for a while, then you come back, and then oh yeah, it's nicer here.
Well, it was my first home when I moved west, and what was really amazing about it was my first time in my entire life where I actually could just walk in my truth and be who I was, and felt free for the first time. So what was interesting, when everything started to close in on us this year, that we decided that we needed to come back. And we're really fortunate to have friends here that are like family to us, that have invited us into their home and given us a place to live. And yeah, it's just, it's part of the community here.
Okay, so you're coming to Port Alberni sometime on the weekend, if I understand correctly.
On Sunday.
On Sunday. Are you just here for the day?
Well, we're there overnight, and then the whole next day.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, we must get together when you're here. I shall take you to breakfast. Or are you vegetarian by any chance? Because my mom makes, sorry?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll have to make vegetarian spring rolls then. Because my mom makes the most famous spring rolls here in Port Alberni.
Oh, wow.
Like when we started selling our spring rolls in the community, we sold over 1,200 spring rolls in like 3 days.
So awesome.
But some of them were vegetarian, some of them were not. So we accommodate both sides. Anyway, tell us what to expect on this transgender Day of Remembrance. Am I right? Did I call it right?
So part of what's going to happen is that so we're going to be a part of the church service on Sunday. So it starts at 10:30 and goes to 11:30.
Okay.
I'm going to do a 20-minute reflection at the church and during the service, and Carol's actually going to read her book as a part of the children's story time. For me, this coming into the United Church right now, there's a huge significance in it for me because it feels like, for me, it's about a homecoming, a coming home for me back into the church.
How so? Did you used to be part of the United Church? Or?
I did. And years ago, and again in the 80s, there was a thing where the United Church made a decision at that point that the LGBTQ2 as community would not be able to be a part of the ministry at that time.
Wait. Backtrack. Would not in the 80s. Okay,
Right.
not. Okay.
And so the whole piece around the United Church is becoming a firm church is a part of a reconciliation. And Jordan Sullivan was the first one to make me aware of it. And so people have been able to write their stories and talk about, what that meant to them to not be able to feel safe in the church again. And then the United Church rescinded that for sure, and have done lots.
Which was when, in the 90s?
I think it was shortly after. I can't really quote the date on that, but it wasn't that long after. But it wasn't until like 2005 where actually transgender people were, it was okay for us to be members of the clergy within the United Church. And so, there's a lot of work that's being done. I really am really thankful for the United Church for stepping up and doing this work. There's a piece in my book actually that I'm going to be sharing at the service because it's really about, to me, and the title of it's called, the chapter is called Faith. And it talks about, some really significant people within the church that held me while I was growing up. And so to be able to be at the church and doing this work is really profound for me. To be able to stand at that pulpit is going to be even more, even more profound. I'm getting emotional now because it is about me coming home to something that really meant a lot to me. And after I met with Reverend Hornidge and Dana that day, I felt that love again. And really, when Minnie invited us into the church, it was absolutely, because if anyone's going to hold space for us in a safe way, it will be them.
So how did you get in touch with Pastor Minnie? Was the connection there before, or did they reach out to you, or did they learn about you through your books or something?
I sent a blanket email out to all the United Churches across the country.
I see.
And just asking if they wanted any support around this piece, and Minnie answered the call.
Diversity and inclusion training.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. How about you, Carol? What is your religious background? Did you grow up in any particular religious denomination or something?
Well, I went to church when I was a child. My grandmother actually was a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, yikes. Okay, sorry. Jehovah's Witness. Okay, that's a whole different.
And my sister and her family are quite religious. But as I got older and separated myself from church kind of teachings, I actually started meditating when I was 24 and started studying Buddhism and different spiritual practices around the world. And we actually do healing work as well. So that's part of, we do energy work and sound healing work. So it was a process. Because I was shunned a lot from different members of my family for being a lesbian at that time. And so it's wonderful that the United Churches are becoming affirmed, because churches weren't in general and acceptance of our community. So, and there's a lot more churches too that are that are accepting our community into their congregations and into their ministries. So
yes, I think the Lutherans already have made some strides towards that that direction. So United Church first, and then the Lutherans, and I don't know how true yet, but I think the Catholics are already opening up a little bit.
Yeah, the Pope actually is acknowledging same-sex marriage.
Yes, I understand that. It's so wonderful. I mean, yeah, that thing you wrote about in your little video blog about coming to a place where we're just human and accepting and honoring each other and giving a sense of belonging to each other. It's no longer just a pipe dream. It's, you know, a possibility, a strong possibility. Anyway, going back to the context of the wonderful Alberni Valley experience, you've been here before to our wonderful Valley. What is your impression? What have you seen? What have you heard? What do you feel about Port Alberni? I'm curious.
I actually been going through Port Alberni for quite a few years, and so is Carol to get to Tofino.
Of course, yes. Don't worry, that's a long list of people. Like, Port Alberni? I've never been to Port Alberni, but I've been to Tofino. Well, you pass through Port Alberni to get to Tofino.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that there's an energy shift happening there too. And that's like any community, when you start to bring more diversity into it, or there's a shift in populations or whatever, that you notice a shift. I feel like I just feel like there's more there's more diversity there than there used to be. And
well, I'm here now.
Exactly.
And I'm not gonna be quiet.
Well, and that's awesome, because sometimes we have to be loud to be heard.
Well, the reason why I created the WAVE was actually when I came to Port Alberni about 5 years ago in 2015. I felt so good about being here. I mean, it was so peaceful. It was so serene. The people are so friendly, and I was never threatened. I mean, I was outwardly, obviously gay. I'm not quietly gay. I am, you know, strongly. I wouldn't say loud. I'm strongly gay. And I felt so comfortable and so accepted here. And but at the same time, I've heard so many bad things about Port Alberni. Like the two, I don't know if you were aware, the two serial killers who were doing some killing out in the interior. The two young boys who killed some people out in the interior, in the mainland. And the media was just blasting it out like, oh, the murderers from Port Alberni, the murderers from, like, over and over, the murderers from Port Alberni. I mean, don't you have anything else to say about Port Alberni? So I said to myself, if the negative voices can be loud, I can be louder. And so I created the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. And I'm so happy that you're coming to share in our wonderful Alberni Valley experience. And that is going to be on the 20th of November, sorry, which 22nd. Is 22nd of June, which is International Day of Remembrance, Transgender.
So it's November 22nd.
November 22nd. And what's the
Trans Day of Remembrance.
Trans Day of Remembrance. And you're going to be reading from your book. Going back to your book, why the name Lily?
It actually came, portions of the book actually came to me in a dream. And so Lily just, the name just came to me, and it's spelled Lilly.
Okay.
It's not actually spelled like the flower.
Yeah.
Lily certainly doesn't feel like a flower.
So, okay.
Yeah, and then Mr. Beasley's barber shop is where a lot of the story takes place, and that also came to me in a dream. Yeah.
Okay. Because Lily is sort of like resonates with me because that was my grandmother's name.
Oh, okay.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
her name was Lily, and she lived to be 99 years old.
Wow.
that's amazing.
Both my grandmothers lived to be 99 years old. And I have my 80-year-old mother living with me now.
Wow.
We got 20 years to go. and, we're, and we're the two happy widows having our wonderful Alberni Valley experience.
So good.
Yeah, mom was widowed in 93, and I was kind of widowed in last year of May.
Wow.
But my wonderful Alberni Valley experience continues. And I'm
Yes.
so happy that you, both of you, are coming to share in our wonderful Alberni Valley experience. So do plug away the event, make the announcement. And before that, your books. I would like you to share your books, plug away your books. So we have Lily Loves Beards
Yes.
Yes.
by Carol, and you have Transgender Heart by Bodhi. And are they available on Amazon or?
Yeah, they're both available on Amazon.ca or Amazon.com.
Mhm.
We also have them. I have Lily Loves Beards in a bunch of bookstores across Canada, and Bodhi's book is also available through Transgender Publishing.
Mhm.
And we both have websites,
Mhm.
BodhiThompsonGarDner.com and CAROLThompsonGarDner.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And on Sunday, Bodhi's also doing a fireside chat with Minnie. And
Okay.
that's at 12 o'clock, and that's on Zoom, I guess. Yeah, that's on Zoom too.
Oh, there's no actual like 5 or 10 people in a fireside with proper social
I
distancing?
think they were
No.
going to have a few people, but I don't now with the new restrictions. I don't think that will be happening. So it'll mostly be all virtual.
Yeah.
Like even though we'll be there at the church
Mhm.
with
So are
Minnie
you arriving Sunday morning or Saturday evening?
Saturday evening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And so
Okay.
the fireside chat definitely is on Zoom. So if people have questions, that's a time to chime in and ask us questions.
Of course, yeah.
If there's certain questions we're not comfortable answering, we won't. But
Uh-huh.
for the most part, we really are encouraging people to get curious about how they can learn things or be best supportive of the transgender community and alleviate awareness. Awareness creates love and alleviates the fear. So that's our intention throughout the whole process. And so we're really welcoming anyone to step forward and ask us some questions that day too.
Yeah, and people will need to register for that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, through Minnie's website.
Yeah, if you go on the United Church website, there's all the information about Sundays on there as well.
Okay.
And how to register for the Zoom.
Okay, that's perfect. So right after this interview, I'm just going to do a little bit of editing and we're going to post it. This is today's Monday. We're posting it on Thursday. Episodes of The WAVE are posted on Thursday on our YouTube channel, Alberni WAVE, and also on our Facebook page, The WAVE.
Mhm.
And so it'll be just in time for people to become informed and aware
Nice.
of the event on Sunday. And I will be in touch with Pastor Minnie as well to see if I can fit in a meeting with you two and have dinner or something. Either Saturday night or Sunday night. So you're leaving Monday morning then?
No, we're leaving Sunday after the fireside chat.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta get started on my planning then. All right.
So maybe I'll send you the links for Bodhi's Facebook and
Of course, please.
and my Instagram for Lily Loves Beards and Minnie's website.
Of course, thank you.
You probably already have.
And Dawn, I just really want to thank you for having us on your show. I feel really privileged to be a part of your process and really want to thank you for the work that you're doing out there. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And I don't think you know how big it is.
Yeah.
But it is.
Oh, well, I am honored and I'm just, you make me cry. Anyway, in our preliminary a while ago, I was just taking some notes and I just appreciate the way you word things I mean, in our community, we sort of like speak a different language, or we say things differently, like what in the normal sense, like, or just like the middle notes. Instead of saying it's your job, you say it's your role. Like having a role and having a job are definitely two different things. And to me, having a role is more valuable. Because some people say, oh, it's my job to do this, it's my job to do this. But Bodhi says, it's my role, and I'm honored to be in that role. And I think I don't wear makeup. And then we use the word advocacy, like we're advocates. We're not rebels, or we're not fighters. We don't fight for things. We advocate for things. And then another thing I appreciated you saying was you help others and you yourself honor truth. You don't fight for truth, or you honor the truth. And that's so wonderful. And another thing is, I can't understand my own writing. Oh, another word I appreciate is, like, we are allies. We are not parties. We are not factions. We are not, subsets. We are allies. So we just, come together and accept one another. And the best part of what we are all doing together as a community is we are creating awareness. It's one thing to be informed, but the informed is only up here. But once you become aware, this goes down here. And I'm just thankful that together, as we work together, as we share our stories, we are able to create, not just inform, but we are able to make people aware of what it is to stand in the truth. Thank you so much to the both of you.
Thank you.
Before I cry any further, I gotta close this show.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank
We'll
you.
catch you next time on The Wave.
Okay.